also the SOP session. We also have a panel session for this meeting, and we'll be having a CV review by an expert in that field, and we'll also be having a scholarship talk. So as you can see, this program is fully packed for you and for your learning. So I want to encourage each and every one of us to endeavor to stay throughout the course of this meeting. Next slide, please. Okay, very quickly, let's take our national anthem. Simeon, please can you help us? Thank you. Thank you very much, Simeon. One nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity. Okay, very quickly, we'll go on to take our opening remarks by the committee chairman. Please let's make welcome Dr. Ndubisi Okereke as he'll be taking the opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. So no slides for this. I'll just make a few comments. I'll pop on my video briefly, as long as that does not affect my network. Okay, so good evening, everyone. We have guests from across the globe, so happy to welcome us all to this CV writing workshop. The focus of the workshop is to draw our attention to some peculiar things we need to give attention to when we are trying to develop our CV, because it's very, very competitive out there. I'll put off my video so that we focus on hearing. So it's very competitive out there. We need to be able to put out good points in our CV. And you will see a lot of those points that are necessary when Dr. Ogazi begins to make his presentation and remarks. You need to highlight your skills. If you don't highlight the skill sets that you have very well, you won't be able to sell yourself for the job that you're going for. So it's important that you highlight your skill set very well. Say, for instance, you're good in making PowerPoint presentations around any topic you're given or any subject topic you're working on. You need to be able to present that very well. You're doing DWOP, drilling well on paper and what have you. You need to be able to present a summary of your studies. You're doing some reservoir simulation and you need to highlight that to your team. You need to capture that in a good presentation slide and put that out nicely. So if that is not done nicely, you don't have the requisite skill set to function very well in that team. So yes, you may have those skills, but you also need to be able to capture them very well in your CV. Take, for instance, you have all of this skill and they need it. Shell needs it, Total needs it, but it's not well captured in your CV. When you apply for jobs, Total, Shell, on such relevant position, they won't be able to capture those skill sets and they put your CV out because they have to see some of those skills before they even grant you opportunity to get interviewed. So that's what we are looking at. How do we jump those hurdles, those scales, and get overboard and get those interview slots, in volumes and, expand our chances of getting better jobs, getting better admissions, and what have you. And I will also be involved in taking the statement of purpose session. So we'll be able to define what it is and how it should look like. And there's a case study of an SOP I developed myself, which eventually helped me in getting admission to Cranfield University. So we'll look at that and diagnose it and see what I did right and what I didn't do as well. But obviously, it helped me gain admission, and the rest is history. I finished off my master's properly, finished off my PhD, and working with FUTO, bringing in much value as much as possible. So I'll stop at this point for now and allow Simeon introduce our very, very senior facilitator, well exposed, over 15 years industry experience with SNEPCO, so a lot of experience. And then he too went through the hurdle of putting his CV properly before he got inroads into KBR, one of the major flow assurance company in the UK. So I'll leave it at that and allow Simeon lead us on to our facilitator. Thank you very much, everyone, and welcome. Welcome.
I think that was such a powerful opening remark from our Career Guardians Continuing Education Committee Chair. Thank you very much, Doc, for such succinct remark. Okay, very quickly, without further ado, we'll go on to recognize senior members that are here just before we move into the very first session. So on the call, we have a number of senior members, which I have spotted. Firstly, I think I want to start with a board member, Dr. Jude. Thank you very much for joining us. Also, we have a board member who's also a panelist, Mrs. Imabong Basi. Thank you very much for joining us. We have Professor Mukhtar Abdul Kader. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Okay, as we go on and as I spot more senior members, I'll do well to recognize them. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Our students, I can see a lot of students and our young professionals. We also have another board member, which I spotted earlier, YP chair, that's Justice. Thank you very much for joining this session. Okay, Simeon, let's move on. Okay, so very quickly, we'll get on to our CV workshop. You've already had the profile of our speaker from our chair. Dr. Isaac is a principal flow assurance engineer with Shell. Please, if your hands are not too busy, please use the chat box and welcome Dr. Isaac Ogazi as he'll take us on the CV workshop.
Good evening, everyone, and please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Good evening, Doc. Good evening, sir.
Yeah,
loud and clear.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's actually a privilege to be here to present just with us today on a very important subject of CV writing. I would like to share my screen from here. Is that okay?
Yes, sir, you can go ahead. Just
Okay.
override.
That's okay.
All right. Okay, all right, confirm you can see my screen when you see this.
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Okay. All right, thanks so much. Just as the chair has introduced me, my name is Dr. Isaac Okazi. I'm a principal flow assurance engineer with Shell based in Lagos. And some of us would be wondering, so how come this flow assurance expert is also having a bit of interest in this CV area? Well, my interest in CV writing started in Cranfield. If you look at my very good friend here, Daniel, so he was into gas turbine engineering. Very smart guy, very brilliant. At the time he was finishing his studies, he had made so many applications and there was relatively no call coming back to him. And at that point, I already had a job just waiting to finish 2 months. So I was okay, just send me your CV, let me have a look at it. And when he sent the CV, I had a look at it and I discovered there was just no way he was going to get a job with that CV. Cut the long story short, did a lot of reviews with him. Within a month, he was able to get a job with Fresh in the UK. So maybe you are here and you just, okay, let me join this session. I would want to encourage you to bring out your CV because you will be working on it as we go along, even though the time is short. We went ahead to expand that conversation, held sessions with students in Cranfield, just coaching and teaching students and fresh graduates on how to position themselves for the very competitive market. So a bit of the outline, I know we already have this in our mind. We need to understand what are those mistakes that would make your CV to go straight away from the email box to the dustbin. And that you might be very skilled, very excellent in the school, or even at the job you're doing now, but you've not been able to progress beyond what you're doing. And so we'll be looking at that and breaking it down into areas that would be of interest in the CV structure. So the very first important question you need to answer is, what is a CV? I don't know who you are. I'm not from your village. I don't worship in the same church with you. I have a company. I have a need in my department to fill in someone there to do the job for me. And all I have to see is a CV submitted by whoever from wherever they sit. So your CV is a document that presents an in-depth account, a summary of your history, education, and professionalism. Someone who does not know you, who never saw your face, how can the person step beyond a doubt and say, okay, I want to invite this person to walk through my door? That is the document that you are about to prepare. So you must interrogate yourself first. You must interrogate your mind. Who are you? Before you begin to write down your CV, a lot of people go to the internet, copy CV, grab this there, edit this, and put it together, and they begin to share it. I can guarantee you that that kind of effort is not sufficient in today's market. So you must have an in-depth account of who you are, what have you done, your studies and your professional experience. Take a piece of paper and do a brain dump of what you've done. Don't bother trying to put it in a nice language, or just put a brain dump of what you've been doing, whether from IT, in your group work, your assignments, or the things you've been doing in your job. Just put them down. Now, the purpose of this is to secure your attention. to secure an attention to your name. That name that you have, to secure attention to it. That attention grants you a door at the interview room. It grants you a chair at that table. So your CV must be able to, first of all, document your journey, professional journey, educational journey, your experience. It must be able to market you, that thing that is unique about you. Is it the way you speak? Is it your ability to keep to time? Is it ability to work in a team? We'll go into that in details. It must be an information source, because in this day and age, HR is becoming challenging. A lot of HR work is being done by AI tools. They just, feeding this CV into the AI tool, and it looks at the keywords there, and then decide, no, this one out of 2,000 CVs, only 10 comes out. So it must provide the right information, and lastly, it must differentiate you, your goals, your values. That first impression is very important. Now, CV, before I go, CV is different from resume, okay? Your CV is comprehensive. It can be 5 pages, 6 pages, but your resume, maximum 2 pages. And so if you have a job that is targeted, maybe you are a chemical engineer, a reservoir engineer, 5 years experience, 7 years experience, you begin to tailor down your CV to a region, because in this case, you are targeting a specific job. But in the early life of your career, write a CV. Make it as detailed as possible. There is no crime in having a 7-page CV. But as you progress in your career, you begin to see that the kind of job you are looking for is more specific, is very narrow. And the time that a recruiter will spend to read your CV would be very short. So you'll be like a page or two, a high-level summary of everything targeting that job becomes okay. So for some of us in the early phase of your career, I used to have up to 5-7 pages of my career in the first 3-4 years, before I began to narrow it down to like 1 or 2 pages. Okay, so you need to gather those experiences and make sure that your CV has a lot of details. Now, before I go into the CV structure, I'm just laying this key foundation. Now, there are different types of CV structure. So, which we'll go into, but I just want to let us have this picture. The structure of your CV depends largely on what has happened in your work experience. For someone who is just starting up, you just finished school and you are getting into your first job, your CV has to be chronological, which means there has to be the time you started, X, Y, Z, from time A to time B, from time B. So that has to be in a way that someone can say, okay, this is the way this young chap has progressed from school to IT and all that. Your educational and work experience has to come out clearly. But as you progress into your career, you begin to see that your CV should have a functional picture, which means your skills becomes more pronounced than the time. Okay, so because what the recruiter is looking at is, does this person have the skill that I need? The interest of either you spent a year or two trying to do a training or that does not really matter as much, but the importance of the skill that you bring to the table becomes more pronounced. So you could see that the first page of your CV becomes more heavy on dealing with the skills that you have. Of course, if you are in the academia, you begin to see that things like your publications begins to come in. But these are the main key area. But somehow you can as well have a mixture of chronological and functional CV as well. Those can be handled. But For functional CVs, it's important that you pay attention to the skills that you bring in. Now, let's go into the meat of today's discussion, CV structure, and this is where I'll be spending a bit of time. I know there'll be a lot of questions on this, and I'll be a bit fast. Now, the first thing in your CV structure is the heading. The heading. Now, the heading must contain a couple of ingredients: your name in full, your contact phone number, your email address, your physical address. I've seen CVs where the phone number is wrong. You call the number, it is not going through. Some of us also need to look at the email that we present. In fact, if your CV heading has any wrong detail, your phone number and your email, you don't have a CV. You don't have a CV. So at least those 4 elements has to be there. And I've given some as examples here. Make it simple, make it sharp, straight to the point. No need of coming to write address here, phone, put address here and all that. Even sometimes, depending on the space that you have, keep it simple. However, you can go deeper. So if you have qualifications that are strong, you're chartered, you have PMP, and all that, is at the CV heading is where you bring those key things that differentiate you in. Now, the other thing is, what if you now add the role you're applying for? In this case, the same John Ibezim has written this, good and fine, but the same John Ibezim can still present his field like this. In this case, he's making himself stand out. Just looking at the heading of this CV, this person is a senior reservoir engineer. This person is someone, okay, the HR is looking at, okay, this job is advertised for a senior reservoir engineer. I can tell you that this heading would attract attention more than this. So you need to begin to look at what are the qualifications that you have, or something else that you have that you need to add to your heading and the job role as well, not just as simple as this. Now, when you're done with your CV heading, you go to your CV profile. Your CV profile is your sales pitch. It's like standing in front of a billionaire to present your product in 1 minute. And what are you going to say? So it is an elevator pitch that provides you the ability to bring an overview of your skills, your goal, what you are bringing to the company. If you craft your CV profile properly, I can tell you that the first 30 seconds that the HR will look at your CV, which is obviously what most of them do, within the first 30 seconds to 2 minutes, they are done. That can earn you an interview. And this is why I'm going to spend some time to analyze how you should present your CV profile in a way that it captures the ingredients of who you are in a very clear and structured manner. Now, CV profile has a syntax that is a structure to it. And that structure is what I've just analyzed here. So the first thing is that you need to introduce yourself with some adjectives that describes you, because at the end of the day, whatever you write, you need to speak to the body of your CV. Okay. Now, the years of experience that you have should come next. The skills and the quality you have comes next. The achievement of those skills comes next. And then your career goals and objectives, which is what you're bringing into the company. Remember that for a company to advertise a job, they have a need. That is a need that company wants to fill. So when you read the job profile, you must begin to understand, how does my CV profile address the need of this employer? That means that you must bring out keywords that is relative, that is relevant to the job profile in that profession from the advert. 3 or 4 of those keywords must come out. And then use that and check your profile. Does it contain what the job description is speaking about? Keep it concise, be professional. Don't use jargons or abbreviations that the employer will not understand, because that will just, turn off the employer. Okay, so now when we apply this syntax, I'll give us a few examples. So this is an example of a petroleum engineer. So you see the color code. There are 5 colors here, or 6 colors here. The first thing is the introduction with that adjective: result-driven petroleum engineer. This introduces you with over 7 years of experience in drilling, production, and reservoir. So what you're doing here is that you are bringing yourself in, describing what makes you different, your experience in what. Now, the next thing is you deepen that experience, because your experience has to become something that drives you into an area of expertise. And the recruiter would have described the expertise required in that job in the job description. So the expertise in XYZ, okay? Now, the next thing is your achievement. If you go back to say your years of experience, your key skills, then your achievement. What have you achieved with this? You put it there: proven track record in enhancing work productivity, reservoir performance. This is your achievement. What are you seeking to do? How can you help the company? So when you put these things together, you see that you've introduced yourself, introduced your experience, you've deepened that experience into an expert area, you've introduced your achievements into that expert area, and then you've now introduced yourself as someone who is ready to apply that skill in helping the company. Your CV profile has to contain these ingredients. If you pick your CV now and you're looking at it, you begin to see that there are areas you need to make changes. Now, the same thing goes, but look at this one. This is another CV example, CV profile example. But this CV profile example, even though it looks good and looks voluminous, but it lacks 2 things. There's no achievement in it. There is no career objective that addresses the need of the company. Yes, it's introduced. There is the years of experience. There is the expertise, which talks more of the skills and skills. So everything you're talking about is skills and skills and skills. But what did you achieve with that skill? How does it translate into solving the problem of the employer? That is what is missing in this example. This example is still the same. This example, if I had the color code, you would have seen that the same problem is what this example is having. Now, I want to look at some of the very bad examples of CV profile we see. You see some of these very common internet profiles that people copy and paste, and a motivated, hardworking professional seeking challenging position in your company, have some experience in this, blah, blah, blah. Very bad. Don't do this to your CV. Follow a structure. Task yourself and write it properly with the syntax. Now, for young graduates, where you may not have had experience and may not have same achievement, your own syntax is a bit different. because what you have going for you is your course of study, the excellence you had a 2-1, or you did very well in some courses. You need to bring that into your CV profile, okay? And this is the center. So you introduce yourself, your course of study, your key skills and qualities, the courses that you excelled in, put them there. Mention some of them, because the interviewer, if you put that in your profile, the likelihood is that the HR knows that they're employing a graduate in chemical engineering, and they want to send this person into process design department. So when you're saying, okay, you did very well in process unit design, that attracts attention, because that is where they want to send you. So picking those areas that you did very well and mentioning them in your profile will automatically glue the HR person to pay attention to this person. And I have a few examples of this. In this, so just reading the first one. Highly motivated engineering graduate with adept interest at applying fundamental engineering principles to solve complex problems within the engineering sector. Okay, let me go to the fourth sentence. During my academic journey, I excelled in courses that covered fluid dynamics, well testing, reservoir modeling. Then your goal. My goal is to collaborate with experienced professionals to drive innovation and add value to the energy sector. You can as well narrow it down to what the company wants. But this always, you can move things around, but keep the ingredients of the profile that can make the employer know that this young graduate can fit into what we are asking to do. Now, let me talk about the skills. This is a very important area that many of us struggle with. And I've tried to put a structure around it, that after now, go back to your CV, look at the way you've written your skill. Your skill must provide business solution or technical solution to the employer. And there are 4 categories of skill that you need to look at. The software. Days are gone when you come and say, I'm good at PowerPoint, I'm good at MS Office. There are softwares that the industry expects at least a university graduate to mention, depending on the discipline that you are in. Even if your department does not have those softwares, you need to check availability of those software in some site that you can take and do training. Because if you don't, others will. Other graduates will. So all the employer is looking at is, are you progressive in, how much attention are you paying in your career? Are you making effort to advance your career? So have you any knowledge of this? Do you even know that this software exists at all? So your software skill is one. Your business skill is another one. So I've tried to mention some of them. Every industry, our industry, oil and gas industry, has a lot of business skills that are required. Well design, plant installation, software modeling, those things come out. We need someone who can do modeling, someone who can do this. Those are business skills. The third level is business discipline. Now you're going down to different disciplines, professional chemistry, subsea systems, process engineering. Do you have a knowledge of these things at all? And the fourth one is soft skills, very important. Team leadership, team player, decision-making, communication. Now, so these 4 things has to come together. And I will show us an example of how we put it together. Now, the syntax for writing your skill is very simple. First of all, you have to define the degree of which you have that skill. Is it just a knowledge of it, or it is an expert experience, or personal experience, or advanced experience? Okay, so that comes out. When you look at the examples I have put in here, you will see that when you want to say you have an experience, a skill in modeling with what? Is it CAD? Is it IPSM? Is it PipeSim? What is your level of experience? Okay, I have a knowledge, which means, yes, I've heard about it. My teacher, we actually used it in my school for a project. That is enough. But they want to know, do you have a knowledge of what this tool does? Don't just say CAD or IPSM. That is not enough. And if you've advanced to okay, actually have advanced skill, put it there. And that goes for every skill that you have. Every skill that you have, even the soft skills, you need to define the degree of experience that you have in that. It helps the employer to differentiate you from the rest of the people that have submitted their CV. This is very important. This skill, this should come under your profile. Immediately after your profile, you should place your skills there and try to sit back within yourself. What software do I know? What business skills do I have? What soft skills do I have? And put them there, and then you come back, use these degrees and write them. Maybe you have 4 or 5 of them. That is enough. Very sharp, straight to the point. Okay. Now, job experience, as we begin to run course. Now, work experience is where I want us to still pay attention to, because a lot of us work very hard, but we cannot write what we did. We achieve so much, but we cannot put it to paper. We forget them. And that is that is not fair to yourself. It's not fair to all the hard work you have been doing. So in this session, I will show you the structure for you to be able that you need to apply to bring out in a very simple way the best of what you have done. The work experience structure is very simple, but where you need to focus on is your responsibilities and your achievement. In this session, I'm going to focus more on how you write your achievement, because your job title, the company you work for, duration, and all that is, simple and straightforward. Now, when you write your work experience, what are you trying to do? You are trying to define an action. And you're trying to give the employer a feel of that action. You are trying to draw the employer into the scene of that action. So you need to have a qualifying adverb that qualifies that verb. The verb is an action. And that verb has to deal with an object or a project or a place and a tool and the value added. Now, let's look at examples of this. When we say qualifying adverb, there's quite a lot of them. And I'm going to show you that you cannot run short of options of what to use. This is just a dump of the things I just tried to bring all of them together. Successfully, efficiently, consistently, diligently. There are things that speak to how you did something thoroughly, strategically. This has to start your experience. These are the first words that need to start your experience. It has to be qualified. Okay? Now, once you've looked at this, then the next thing is to add the action. What action does this adverb qualify? That is where you look at the action verb. Successfully initiated, researched, implemented. There has to be something that you are bringing in. How did you do it? Okay, and you cannot run out of options. There are quite a lot of this word that if you sit down and ask yourself, you will understand how you did something and combine that adverb to a verb before you go into the object of that action. Now, the next thing is the object. When you look at this example, you will see an experience of someone who is a well engineer, successfully managed the adverb, the verb is managed, drilling project is the object. The tool, this is where the skill that you realize, okay, I have experience in rigs and all that, using XYZ kind of tool, software or rig, this, and the result, reducing operational cost by 15% while maintaining safety standard. What you have done is that you have given the HR person a tough job, because when you see someone who is able to reduce cost by 15%, the company wants to have that kind of person. But when you write your CV and there is no evidence of outcome, the bottom line is empty. You are just like any other person. So why should we call you? So always make sure that you quantify the value of what you've done. At the end of the day, if you have 3 or 4 of these in your job, in the job you just did, that is enough. That's enough. And that is the way it should go for every experience that you are describing in your CV. There must be the adverb, there must be a verb, the object, the tool, and the result consistently. Okay? And I just gave more of the examples. Yeah. Let me not spend too much. Now, when you look at some CVs, this is what you see. Drilling engineer, ABC, this, supervise drilling operation, coordinate with drilling teams, ensure. This is trash. Don't do this to your CV. This does not communicate value. It means that you've probably copied this thing from somewhere and just, put them together and just submitted. You would hardly get an interview with this kind of job description. And the one that is the second one is even worse, because the second one is talking about a reservoir engineer in a marketing company. So see this kind of thing where you copy things and join together, and then it does not really speak to who you are, because you're talking about completely two different people at the same time. So pay attention to how you describe your work experience. Let me know of time, Chair, so that I'm able to keep for the time, please. I don't want to, but I can stop and take questions. Now, yeah, the last things which are very simple and straightforward is your educational background, your summary, and all that. Keep it simple, straight to the point. Your degree in what, university, place, and the year. It should follow each other. Okay, starting from the most current degree that you have. If you're still studying, that means your end date, is in view. So you would put that. But anyone that you have already completed, make sure that you state that. This should come later. So for young graduates, your education data should come immediately after your skill. But one thing you need to do in addition to this is to add the courses you did. Those subsea courses, those chemical courses, mention the title of those courses you did. Bring them in at this point. After this point, make sure you mention them here, because that is what the recruiter is going to be looking at. Okay? And membership, certification, and all that. I will not spend so much time on this. Now, lastly is your references. In the past, it used to be good to include your references, but of late, we've seen that recruiters don't mind until they're interested in hiring you, even at the last stage before they start asking you for your references. So don't spend time trying to get a reference to put in your CV, because at the end of the day, the kind of job you get will decide the kind of reference you provide to them. So if the job you get needs you to provide your professor in school or someone you worked with, they will tell you that they want to have a reference from your school. Then in that case, you now know who and who you need to go to contact for your CV. Let me stop here. I think because of time, I have a few. There are a lot of do's and don'ts here, which I've spoken to so many of them, which you should use just as your go by, and then we can always talk about them. These are 10 don'ts, 10 do's, and 10 don'ts, which just a summary of what we've done. Then, if you have a bit of more interest in how to write CV, functional CVs, and all that, I'd also have them in the back. So let me stop here, Chair, and then we can take questions because of time. Thanks. Back to you.
I think I'll manage this with the moderator. But I would like to welcome very quickly our programs chair, the person of Sir Abiye Pedro. We welcome you very much. We appreciate the presence of Michael Oyang too, an ex-officio, SAC at some point. And the communications chair is also here, Madam Pauline. We appreciate your presence. And of course, the Bangers SD is here. SD Bada is here. We appreciate you, sir. And so many other, Olga Bright Abodike is here too. I appreciate you, and so many other senior members. I'll leave the floor for the moderator to continue his work in managing questions, and I'll get ready my slides for the SOM session. Then I would like to request as well that Itoro, you drop the Google Drive for CV so that folks can load the, okay, it's there. So guys, you will see a Google Forms or Google Drive link now. Just drop your CV there. Both Dr. Gazi, myself, and other panelists will log on to it, and we'll be able to and get back to you between now and when the meeting ends. And of course, we have our able brother, one of these here, co-chair communications. We appreciate your presence. We can't forget you. You're too big. And we thank you for the impact you keep making in Port Harcourt City and across SP generally. So I shift base so that the moderator Daniel Keke will take over, and maybe in 5 minutes, if he's able to manage these questions and other things, I hope to step on and quickly wrap up my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, and thank you very much, Dr. Isaac, for such a wonderful session. I think personally, I had to go through my CV again just to make sure that I'm in tune with most of the things that you mentioned. Thank you very much. Okay, we have a few questions on the chat box. So someone GC is asking, at what section of the CV do you add the link to your LinkedIn profile?
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. So if you have a good LinkedIn profile and you want to, provide a link to it, that should come probably at the last section of your CV. Also note that for that link to be easily accessed, the CV has to be soft copy. Okay, so of course, but you should we typically are there, or you can put that in the CV heading. Yeah, so if you want to draw attention to it, you can put a link on your CV heading as well, where from the moment the recruiter sees your CV on the system, he's led to click it, and it takes the person straight away. Yeah. So, but that's, you must be very sure that what you have in your LinkedIn section is a very good one, because you are driving attention from your CV straight away. The person may never come back to your CV from that point.
Okay, thank you very much for such apt answer. And I think especially the last comment you just made, moving the person away from your CV, especially when you don't have a solid LinkedIn. So you also want to be careful when you put up your LinkedIn on your profile, on your CV as well. Okay, thank you very much. I don't know. Okay, we have another question. What if someone writes qualities he or she doesn't have? This is a question from Ezekwe Bright.
Okay, so that is lack of integrity. We don't encourage that, because it will stop you from developing. The moment you start snuffing in skills that you don't have into your CV, you think you're getting away with it. What it does to you is that it stops you from aspiring to go and acquire those skills. Okay, so it's important that you make very good effort to understand the skills you need in your career, acquire those skills, and bring them out in your CV. If you don't have a skill, don't put it in your CV, because there is a case, I think, in the US or in the UK, where a company is suing an employer who put a skill in his CV, and he was invited for the interview. And in the interview, the employer took him to demonstrate on the board the application of this software that he claimed he had. And it was clear that the guy had no clue what he was talking about. So it's now a court case, because it's been sued for deceit and wasting the company's time and all that. So it's something that we should never do. Okay.
Okay. So we'll just take 2 more questions. So the first is hobbies really necessary? Is hobbies really necessary in a CV? And then
Is what? Sorry?
Hobbies. So putting in your hobbies, your interests, are they necessary? And what are special features a HR is looking for before they can call an undergraduate seeking IT space?
Okay. So if your CV has not done a good job in solving the company's need in terms of your skill, your experience, your studies, with all that, your hobby is not going to do anything in addition. Okay. So while at the early stage of your career, you could create interest in showing that you are not just someone who is a bookwormer. You also have interest in other things, maybe cooking, or sports or football, or all that. Yeah, so you can add that, but it's not going to sway the recruiter if you haven't done a very good job in putting together a convincing CV. Now, the recruiter that is interested in hiring an IT person, not necessarily going to be looking at job experience or, your achievements at your work. But what have you done? You're on course to having a first class. Yes, you should put it there. Your last GPA, 4.7, 4.9, 4.5. That's something that you've done. You put it there. So the recruiter is looking for people who can help the company solve a problem, people who can come in and learn and come back to the company to work. So, and they're looking for creative people who can solve problems, who can solve complex issues. This is what you need to bring out. So from the studies you've done, from your courses and subjects, be very clear that in your educational section, put those things. Your GPA should be there. The courses you've done should be there. Your profile should speak, the way I've described it. And if you've done some other work, maybe you did a group project with a company, and then you have some experience about a tree or pipeline or software modeling, HYSYS, Unisim, any software you've used in your school with your professor, put those things in your skill, your skill session. Use the syntax for describing your experience, the presentation, and bring them out. Definitely, you will get something coming in. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry, I did not realize I was muted. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir, for that answer. Okay, so that would be the last questions we'll be taking. We had been calling for questions for quite a while. So very quickly, because of our time, we'll go on to the SOP. Simeon, please, could you go ahead to share your screen? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So yeah, that's the event, but I have my slides here. Unfortunately, I've not shared my slides with Simeon. So I hope I can share from my end, Simeon.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So I'm going to make it real quick. As I'm doing that, I will request for Itoro and Daniel, no, Itoro mainly to help us fish out some of these CVs, because I tried now to see if I can pick out some from the forms, Google Forms. I've not been able to. So if you can get it and maybe drop on our group, and then for Dr. Gazi, you will have to drop it to his email. I will drop his email on his personal email on the chat in a bit, so that you can just drop, at least 3, 4, 5 CVs with him directly on his inbox, so he can look at it. Then if I have others in the group chat, I can share with Professor Mukhtar and a few other panelists that are able to help us. But you have Dr. Gazi's email now on the chat. So that's out of my way. I will share screen. Oh, Simeon is saying I have consent now. CV workshop. Can you see my screen? Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen? Yes. I hope I'm not muted. Okay, thank you very much. So I will put that in slide mode, and I'll begin to run very quickly, because time is no longer our friend. So CV writing workshop still continuing. Developing a statement of purpose is my subject of discussion right about now. Developing a statement of purpose, otherwise known as SOP, right? So we'll move to the next slide. Outline. What's the definition of SOP? Purpose of SOP. Difference between SOP and cover letters. They are not exactly the same thing. They may share similarity in some areas, but they are primarily different. Sample case study, and that will be from an SOP that I developed that went ahead to help me secure an admission into Cranfield University. So this SOP has yielded its result, right? So conclusion, question and answer. So what's an SOP? Statement of purpose, that's what it means. If you've not heard that before, for some of my friends from 400 level and thereabout, but those that recently graduated, I know a lot of them, as they're applying and as we are helping them with references and what have you, they are also doing SOP, a lot of them. So what is SOP, statement of purpose? It's basically an essay that highlights an individual's potentials, attributes, and makes him or her suitable or stand out for an admission process or admission to a postgraduate program primarily, or a relevant scheme, maybe work scheme, internship, and what have you, right? That SOP helps the person stand out. It's also referred to as personal statement in some occasion, personal statement, right? That's what it's referred to as well. Then universities abroad, they use it as part of the admission selection process. So when I was applying for Cranfield sometime 2009, thereabout, they used it as part of the criteria. And luckily, my own was relevant. Many thanks. I must give credit to my brother, Onyebuchi Okereke, because SOP before then. So, and prior to that time, I'm someone that would really want, to literally get spoon-fed on things like that. I said, no, you have to check samples online, try and work it out, score your background very well, bring in your work experience that is relevant to the admission you're seeking, bring out your software-related skills that are relevant, your leadership skills and other relevant soft skills, bring them out within some various sections of the write-up, and you should be fine. And I followed that through, and I came up with a good SOP. So universities abroad, they use it as a criteria. Sorry, there's a bit of a jump. Admission is often competitive, very important. And candidates you need to highlight your profile, your strategic profile. What makes you stand out? You need to highlight that. Then in your SOP, you need to capture the background, both educational and industry-related background. You need to capture all of that. The purpose of SOP, to support your postgraduate admission, right? To highlight your great potentials, to seek job openings. A lot of times, some multinationals and some foreign companies especially, and even some indigenous companies, these days, they are adapting this SOP approach along the line in the forms you're filling. You need to fill something that is like an SOP form that captures certain skills they want to check out for. To capture your key career achievement as well. At one point when I was at Afe Babalola University, I was adjudged the best lecturer in petroleum engineering. So if I'm doing my SOP for some other thing, not maybe my master's, because I had finished my master's when I got that award, I should be able to capture that award, right? Sell yourself. That's the whole idea of SOP, right? What's the difference between SOP and cover letter? Cover letters are strictly in letter format. You have your own address on the right. You have the address of the company you're writing to on the left, and then to whom it may concern, or to a specific person. So SOPs are typically in essay format, and unlike the cover letters that has to be in letter format. Some companies also adapt unique formats to capture specific questions. That's for the SOP. SOPs must also contain your background. We talked about that. Depending on what you're looking for, you bring out relevant information. Avoid excessive financial details. Don't put out too much financial details, except the recruiter or the person that is assessing it requests for that information. A lot of time there's word count. So I know particularly SOPs need to be within one page, not necessarily more than one page, right? So that's that. So this is a sample case study of my own. So I captured it in, I think, two sections because they cannot all enter one in one page, but I'll still show you the Word document. So statement of purpose, this was actually centralized, but I readjusted it now. So depending on the format of the university and what have you. Subsea operations contribute over 6% of the total hydrocarbon production output, the oil and gas industry. Consequently, the need for fuel control. And so I started emphasizing some of the high points of the course I wanted to study, so as to tell the person that was assessing that I know things about the course already, and that's why I'm interested in it. One of the major challenges affecting subsea operations is how to reduce back pressure to allow optimal hydrocarbon production. I intend to pursue a master's degree program in subsea engineering at Cranfield University with the aim of providing solution to this. So I had already identified a potential problem that I'll be solving through the education that I will acquire at Cranfield. So, and I highlighted that. Then I quickly touched about my research, that will focus my research on developing a model that will select appropriate length for multi-phase flow lines of different subsea layouts in order to address that same back pressure problem, right? So then I talked about my background, I highlighted my first degree project, talked about related work experiences, right? Talked about, industry background too. Then some major problems I solved while working. In the course of dredging, I encountered a lot of backload pressure related challenges. This was one of my experience working somewhere in a location in Port Harcourt. So also I introduced a sequence valve monitoring software to ensure efficient regulation of pressure in course of dredging. Upon completion of this MSc program, I tend to internalize the learning. So I talked a bit about some of my high points, then merged it again with some other things I believe I would learn from the program, which will help me. And I also mentioned at that point that I will consider doing a PhD, and I later did. And ultimately, the rest is history. So I now finalized that. And to be honest, looking at this today, I identified that it could also be improved even more. So that's a highlight on that. And I think that's all. So if there's any question, but let me pull out the full work. Let me just share the full work so you have a glare, a look at it, and then questions will be entertained, few, to allow us get into another very important section. So this is the full SOP, and I'm happy to share with us individually for those that will need it, those that will help. Thank you very much. So these areas I highlighted was when I was preparing the slides, just to think them through and see how to use them to pass the message of my presentation. So I think I leave the floor to Dan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think statement of purpose comes in very handy, especially for those persons that are looking forward to furthering their education outside of Nigeria, especially. So if you have any questions as regards to statement of purpose, please do well to ask, because this is quite an important document, especially I think every school you would want to apply to would want to know, why you are applying to them. So please, if you have any questions, in a minute. Please, let's have it. Or you could raise your hand if you want to ask the question, and then I will go ahead to ask you to unmute and ask your questions. Also, let's remember that we can upload our CVs using the link that is in the chat box shared by Itoro. So please do well to upload your CVs or your sample SOPs for review. And thank you very much, Itoro. And that would be a few CVs and SOPs will be selected and sent to Dr. Ogazie and Dr. Okereke for review. So please do well to utilize this opportunity to get an expert review on your SOPs and your CVs. Thank you. Okay, so Dr. Okereke, we have a question from Eze Steven. It's asking what differentiates. Okay, so what differentiates a statement of purpose from a statement of problem?
Okay, the statement of purpose is the bigger document, right? But statement of problem is you understanding maybe some potential challenges that the master's program you will end up doing will help you to solve ultimately. So you need to actually understand the problem. That studying subsea engineering, studying flow assurance can help you solve. If you don't understand the problem as well, you won't be able to bring out the skill you want to learn in the document. So you need to understand, but the statement of purpose is the bigger. That's the document that contains both your understanding of the problem statement or statement of problem and your background that is related to that shows that you have capacity to take on the new level of knowledge that you're going in for a master's program and what have you, that will now ultimately help you to solve the problem. And I think if I tie to another question I saw in the chat box, someone was asking, must you know the problem you're trying to solve? I think it's an advantage. You need to really think about it. Yes, I want to study data analytics, which is also another very hot area now in my master's. There should be a burning desire in terms of problem that you want to use it to solve, because I want to be able to develop my skill to solve a lot of data analytics related issues for some offshore assets, because I want to be able to use that to help organizations make informed decisions about their assets. So if you're able to break down, if you're able to express the problems associated with a field, let's take maybe production data you get from a field. If you're able to do a rigorous data analysis around the production data, you can identify where the potential problems are from. You can identify, whether the, pressure losses as a result of potential corrosion issues and what have you. And with those analyses, you get those results. So in principle, you need to have a clear idea of the problem that you will ultimately be solving with the degree you are going and working towards getting. So let me not overflow that so that I don't confuse us. It's important for you to have an idea of the problem you will be solving through the degree you will earn in the long run. Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Yes, thank
you. 2 or 3 minutes quickly, if possible.
So I'll join 2 questions together. The first is from Justice. He's asking if a statement of purpose, has to be professional, or can it be personalized? And also someone was asking what's the difference between an SOP and a diversity essay? Some schools are now asking for a diversity essay alongside an SOP. So what's the difference between an SOP and a diversity essay? And can we personalize an SOP, or does it have to be professional? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Very, very good questions. I will advise you don't go too personal. Be professional as much as possible with your SOP. You know, you don't need to go and start telling them I was born in Isochi, one village in Nigeria, right? You don't need to go too personal. You don't need to start talking about your parents. You know, take for instance, maybe they are divorced or something. I'm just using this as an instance, not pushing on any person, but personally. So you don't need to go into all those details. Be professional as possible. In the sample I have here, I talked about subsea operations generally because the program was subsea engineering. Then I talked on my background, which I considered was suitable and aligned with the master's program. Then I shared about my project. You know, some of us, you know, that just did their project last year or last 2 years are forgetting their project topic. So I'm using this opportunity to remind you, don't forget your project topic. What I am highlighting, this one I've highlighted in green here, and I'm bolded. That's my first year on my undergraduate days project, right? I looked at comparative analysis of exposure impact on compressive strength of offshore structure. So I looked around if an offshore structure is exposed to a sulfate prone environment, maybe because of the salt around the water, how will it survive, right? So that's but I don't want to go into detail now. So I touched on it to show them that I already have a taste of offshore environment through that. And then I talked on my industry experience, which was relevant to what I was also applying to. And then wrapped it up with some of the things I knew I would learn that will also help me in the long run in the area I was pursuing career on. So it's good to be professional as possible. The second question, diversity essay. I've not done that before, but from the top of my head, it suggests they are trying to test you, probably your knowledge of diverse things, maybe other people's, the culture in the US or UK, depending on what the case may be, or on a particular subject that is not very common to you. So that's what I think I'm getting from that diversity essay. But in terms of format, it won't be too different from this. It won't be like cover letter. It's an essay. So you need to show your understanding around the theme you're writing on, right? And you take it up from there. So I'll leave it at that. I don't know if Dr. Ghazi or any other of the panelists would like to touch extra on that diversity essay. Because to be honest, I've not done that before, but this from the top of my head, what I think they're expecting of you from there. Thank you. Any other questions from me, Dan?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I think just to comment on the two questions, just like you rightly said, the SOP should be as professional as possible, because we also have a personal statement which should be as personal as possible, and then you want to utilize that when you are writing a personal statement, make it more personalized. And for the diversity essay, I think you also summarized it. It's mostly how would you relate with changing cultures, getting to meet people with different mindsets, opinions, and all of that. And it's, as an essay, you would want to share experiences, things that show that you are able to thrive in a diverse community, in a diverse workplace. It could also be as basic as having to work with or learn with people from different backgrounds in the same department and all. So it's just a test to see how diverse, how you can survive in a diverse community. Okay, I think most of the questions have been answered during the course of the session. And I think you touched on the second question from Justice, the other features that make a unique SOP while answering
I
the
think
first.
Professor Mukhtar raised his hand, and I'm guessing maybe it may have to do with the diversity essay. So
yes,
if you give him some time, then we wind up this session. Thank you.
Yeah, so Professor, you can go ahead, sir. Thank you. Prof, if you are speaking, you are still muted.
Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Now, so let me just say this quickly. Based on two observations, I really like the explanation made by the last presenter on the SOP. So what I would just say very quickly in summary is that statement of purpose, let me start from there. Statement of purpose is limited to research. For example, maybe master's project, PhD dissertation, you need to write something about what is that problem? What is the problem that you intend to solve? So that is addressed under what is called statement of the problem. But when you say SOP, statement of purpose, that is limited to more often than not MSc applications. So that's the key difference between them. Now, coming down to diversity essay. Diversity essay is not about a personal statement or essay that focuses on the topic of diversity, typically as part of a college application, scholarship application, or an assignment in an academic or professional setting. So the purpose of diversity essay is to explore and reflect on your experiences, perspectives, and insights related to diversity and inclusion. So the key elements to consider when writing a diversity essay are: 1, introduction; 2, personal experiences; 3, definition of diversity; 4, challenges and learning; 5, contributions; 6, impacts and insights; 7, future commitments; and then finally, conclusion. But bear in mind that just like all of them said, you're not just writing, but make sure that the document you've written, you ensure that it's proofread and that it's well edited, and then be as honest and authentic as possible. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much for such apt answer. Okay, Chadi Paul, your hands are raised, so you just have a minute to go direct to the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, as well.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome.
Then Dan, there are two comments on CV things, two questions rather. Whether you can put in experiences that are not related to a job you're applying for, both for CV and this. I think it would be good to call it to the attention of Dr. Gazi, and then maybe later on I can say something on the other one. Thank you. Well,
okay.
After allowing Paul.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's all right, sir. Paul, you can go ahead.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful contribution. So my question is this: during my, like in the case of Dr. Okereke, if you realize very well, you will see that his undergraduate project was on offshore operations, and even in his master's and PhD, he did something related to offshore operations. For instance, someone like me that has a background in petroleum engineering, and my research project is focusing on enhanced oil recovery, and with some machine learning application as well. And now you now have a research interest in wastewater treatment, how to utilize wastewater, to produce electricity and also to cut down the organic materials and waste material. How can you align such research experience to this kind of research interest? Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, thank you for that question.
Okay.
Dr. Okereke, would you want to go on?
Yeah. Anyway, on that case, but produced water treatment and management is very much within the oil and gas space. So I think it's for you to just find a thin line to marry them and make sure you keep it focused that both of them, your previous experience is also within oil and gas. And in fact, EOR is also related to production. So, but the aspect of maybe producing energy is different. But if it's to treat the water and dispose, it's very much oil and gas related. So,
actually, this research opening is actually in the field of chemical engineering. So it has to do.
It's related. It's related. So you just need to sit on it and discuss with a senior colleague and find a way to tie what you've done before that is related to the old one, because the whole essence is you're trying to see how you can tell them or prove to them you have related skills existing that is related to what you want to do in that master's or PhD, as the case may be.
Okay, thank you so much.
So let me add, yeah, okay.
Go ahead, Dr. Isaac.
Yeah, so two things here. Just on the last question, you have to look at what we call the transferable skills. Okay, so water chemistry has a lot to do with salts and scales and dissolved gas, you know. So, and from reservoir perspective and petroleum engineering perspective, so produced water has a lot of salt and scale and all that. So when you get into wastewater treatment, those things will still be there. So the biogenic composition as well still be there. These are skills that you have already gathered that you can easily put together and show that they are very well within the scope of the wastewater research in this case. So I think you should be able to handle that quite well. The other thing I want to mention is the diversity and inclusion issue. If you have interest in working outside Nigeria, you want to get a job in Canada or US or UK, France, Italy, you must pay attention to diversity and inclusion. And it has to go into your CV. I had a slide on that, which, because I'm going to get there. You need to look at the language you speak. You need to diversify your language. Don't just limit yourself to English. There are a lot of softwares online and training online that you can use. Some of them are even free to begin to expand the scope of your diversity. Language is there. So make sure that you have this kind of experience. Maybe where you worked with with people from other countries. If you're submitting your CV outside Nigeria, mention those things. You know, the places you work, the people you work with, mention them. Those things go a long way in showing that you are not a local champion. You have experience in interacting with people from diverse culture, language, and interest as well. But that has to do with specifically your CV that is going outside Nigeria. You need to include deliberately things that deals with diversity and inclusion. It is a big issue outside this country. Even in most multinational companies would pay at this is a very big subject. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for amazing answer, Dr. Isaac. Because of our time, we may not be taking any more questions on SOP and CVs. But then one of the good things about meetings like this in SP is the opportunity to network. So you can utilize your LinkedIn, reach out to our speakers, and then get your questions sent to them. Okay, very quickly, we'll be moving on. We have our panelists. A few of our panelists have been on the session. Sorry, I just need to confirm that Madam Imabong is back in. Okay, let's go ahead. So we'll go on with the panel session. I'll read the profile of our panelists. We'll be entering the energy career session, and our panelists will be answering a few questions as relates to energy transitioning, blue gas, as well as skills required for students and persons who would like to switch careers into the energy space. Let us also remember to send in our CVs and SOPs for review using the form in the chat box. Okay, Simeon, next slide, please. Okay, I'm trying to confirm that Madam Imabong is still on the call. Once she's back up, I'll read her bio. Can we have, okay, let me just read so that if she comes up, she'll join the session. Just take it back, thank you. Okay, so she's a geologist from the University of Calabar, and her career has spanned production, development, exploration, and HSSE in environment studies. She started her career in production as a contract holder where she managed the Obibo Node associated gas gathering projects in Shell, Port Harcourt, ensuring gas production, quality, and sales to domestic customers in the Niger Delta from 2002 to 2005. She joined Subsurface Asset Development in 2006 as a subsurface data analyst, where she managed geologic and petroleum engineering data and implemented several technical data management standards for SPDC assets. In 2008, Imabong began her working career as a production geologist. She has worked in various SPDC assets, central swamp and land. These have been backed up by awards and recognition for technical excellence and value creation. She joined the growth and portfolio team as an exploration geoscientist, where she explored and grew SPDC's assets. Her passion for WRFM, continuous improvement, making her mark in these areas, a certified C1 practitioner, agile practitioner, and trainee Scrum Master, landed her a role as Technical Data Management Consultant, WRFM, in the Technical Data Management and Workflow Nigeria team. Imabong is married with an amazing daughter. She's enthusiastic about children and women. She enjoys critiquing art, traveling, and reading. She volunteers in church, SPE, as well as the United Nations. Please let's welcome our first panelist, Mrs. Imabong Bassey. She's also the scholarship chairperson for section 103. Simeon, can we have the next profile, please? Thank you. So Dr. Ndubisi Okereke is currently a senior lecturer at the Department of Petroleum Engineering, Federal University of Technology, Owerri. He has over 15 years of combined industry and academia experience, cutting across subsea engineering and deepwater oilfield development, flow assurance studies, project management, and tutoring on courses related to petroleum production, reservoir engineering, rock mechanics, etc. Some of the major projects he has been involved in includes the review of severe slugging mitigation strategy for Chevron's Abami oil field, swamp dredging and workover operations of typical swamp oil wells, such as Belema oil wells 8, 9, and 10 for SPDC, Chobiekiri capital dredging project for SPDC, and the Alakiri gas plant access dredging, also for SPDC. He's a member of the Society of Underwater Technology and the Society of Petroleum Engineers. He has been involved in the pre-FEED project for Santos Basin in Brazil, where he worked with the flow assurance team to develop a flow assurance strategy for an oil field with inherent wax problem. He's very competent in the deployment of Olga. He has authored and co-authored over 30 publications, journals, and conference papers relevant to the oil and gas industry. He's also a co-author of the textbook Introduction to Offshore Operations and Technology, which is also available on Amazon. Let's welcome Dr. Ndubisi Okereke, Senior Lecturer at FUTO and the Career Guidance and Continuing Education Chairman for SP Section 103. Our next panelist is a professor of petroleum engineering with over 20 years of cumulative experience in teaching, research, and engineering consultancy services. He's a professor in the Department of Petroleum Engineering, also at the Federal University of Technology, Owerri. He's a seasoned, dynamic, and resourceful scholar, a foremost specialist in the area of reservoir engineering, formation evaluation, enhanced oil recovery, petroleum production engineering, natural gas processing technology, and petroleum economics. He has published over 50 technical papers in international and local journals. As a very organized and experienced resource consultant, he has worked as a lead facilitator on several training programs for oil and gas companies. He has served in an academic and research advisory role in the Shell-operated Center of Excellence in Geosciences and Petroleum Engineering at the University of Benin, planning and coordinating academic and research schedules and activities, and as a liaison between the center and the SMEs. Professor Stanley Onkwe is a seasoned leader, serving on different occasions as the Associate Dean of the School of Engineering and Engineering Technology, and also as the Head of Department, Petroleum Engineering, both at the Federal University of Technology. Please let's make welcome Professor Stanley Onkwe. The next profile, please. Dr. Nnaemeka Ohia is a veteran oil and gas professional with over 2 decades hands-on academic and industry experience. He consults for both local and international oil and gas production and servicing companies engaged in multi-billion-dollar projects, and hence knows what truly drives performance in project delivery. Nnaemeka's professional and technical interest in well engineering, production and optimization, environmental protection, and renewable energy sources has landed him various certifications and awards around the world, including over 62 authored and co-authored journal and technical paper publications to his credit. Please let's make welcome Dr. Nnaemeka Ohia, who is also a senior lecturer at the Department of Petroleum Engineering, FUTO. As you can see, we have panelists, very seasoned professionals, both in the academic and professional space. Yes, our last but not the least panelist is Professor Abdulkader Mukhtar, who holds a BNG in Chemical Engineering from the Federal University of Technology, Minna, in 2004, and an MSc in Oil and Gas Engineering from the Robert Gordon University, which was obtained in 2007. Professor Abdulkader received his PhD in flow assurance with emphasis on multi-phase flows from the University of Nottingham in the UK during the period of 2008 and 2011. He's an associate member of the Institution of Chemical Engineers, a registered member of Council of the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, an associate member of the Institution of Engineering and Technology, and a member of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. Currently, he's a professor and former head of the Petroleum and Gas Engineering Department, Federal University of Technology, Minna. He is also a visiting professor at the Petroleum Engineering Department, African University of Science and Technology, Abuja, Nigeria, and the Institute of Petroleum Studies, IPS, University of Port Harcourt. Prof is a special advisor on strategy and innovation to the Honorable Minister of Interior, Honorable Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo. He has over 50 technical publications based on his research outputs and fellowship training. He has received several international and local awards and honors. He is internationally recognized for his work on successfully developing and applying advanced instrumentations and computational models to provide an improved understanding of the fundamental processes that causes real-world chemical petroleum engineering problems, and which may assist in the design of sustainable solutions to these problems. Please let's make welcome Professor Abdulkader Mukhtar. Thank you very much for joining. So very quickly, okay, I've noted your comments, Mrs. Imabong. Okay, so very quickly we'll go on to take a few questions for our panelists. On the session, I can see Professor Stanley, Dr. Ndubisi, Professor Mokhtar, and then Mrs. Imabong. Her network is not on the very good end at the moment, but once it comes back on, I would also ask her questions as relates to this session. Okay. Very quickly, Dr. Ndubisi, yes, I think I would want to start with you. So in your own view, what would you say is Nigeria's position, or how is the Nigerian petroleum industry progressing as regards to Hello, can you hear me, sir? Hello, Dr. Ndubisi, please confirm you can hear me. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Sorry, I'm trying to get Dr. here.
Okay.
You'll be joining. So, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's all right.
Can you recap? Do I have a question for me or?
Yes. So I was about asking you a question. So in your own view, how is the Nigerian petroleum industry progressing with the energy transition?
Sorry. So if I begin to respond, I think we are making a slow and steady progress. And I say that because a lot of other developed countries have actually gone far, right? A lot of other ones have gone far, but we are but for us, it has been a slow one. We don't have the electric cars functional. Yeah, we don't have biofuels fully functional. We don't have even the gas. We've not tapped it fully, but there's a lot of progress in the area of gas, which is our transition fuel or transition. Yeah, our transition fuel is gas. There's a lot of progress on that end in terms of harnessing the gas into CNG, into LNG, and what have you.
Okay.
Right. So those are the kind of mileages we've registered. Solar as well is gaining ground. I particularly, I have solar in my house. So that's to show how close it's come, at least to me. The government is also supporting it across various local governments and what have you. So we are seeing that gradual readjustment. But again, another very good thing is that we have not left oil, fossil fuel, which is our mainstay, because our reserves is still high in terms of oil and even much more higher in terms of gas. So we've not left those areas, but we must make effort to make our exploration and production of oil more sustainable, more environmentally friendly. We must be more conscious of our environment in terms of managing flaring of gases, which a number of operators are actually doing. Total, for instance, they have a flare out target, and they have a lot of flare out projects associated with a number of their projects. So which is very, very good. So we are seeing a slow and steady progress, and I believe in no too distant a time, we will have some other sources of energy become much more stably utilized, because we really need to make our energy sources, other sources of energy, much viable and much useful, so that we can maximize the energy from those various sources, help us improve our industries, because industrialization is key to economic growth. So if we can tap on other forms of energy that can help us boost our industries, that should be the way to go. So these are just some few points I would like to put out now, and hopefully much later touch more on some of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So my next question will be directed to Professor Onkwe. Considering what Dr. Ndubisi has said, and also the fact that we are slowly moving in terms of the energy transition here in Nigeria, what roles are the academic institutions, that's the tertiary institutions, playing towards ensuring that the next set of graduates from the petroleum engineering, gas engineering fields are prepared for the energy transition? What roles are institutions at the moment currently working on?
Okay, thank you, Professor Stanley Onkwe. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear, Prof. Loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I will first of all want to thank Mr. Ogazie. I listened when he was making presentation on how to get an accurate CV. It was quite refreshing. And also to Dr. Okereke on the statement of purpose. I really enjoyed it. I really was very, very refreshing. And back to your question, the focus here is energy transition. And transition, why transition? I think we have to, since we have a lot of young audience there, why are we transiting? Why is so much call for transition of energy? Is anything wrong with fossil fuel? Why all of a sudden they want to abandon it? It's nice to call to attention that the global call for energy transition arises from the so-called or the clamor for climate change, the effect of climate change, which have over time due to global warming, a lot of droughts, heat waves, floods here and there. Even in Nigeria here, we've a lot of experienced a lot of flooding. And as a result, because of the distortion in our environment, there have been numerous calls by countries and business concerns to see if there are any other form of energy other than fossil fuel, which have been accused of being a culprit in this climate change, to see if there are needs for us to have any other form of energy source, most especially renewable energy. Of course, and as a result, wind energy comes to mind. solar energy comes to mind, hydro, the blue hydrogen, carbon capture, all those forms of energy begins to come to mind. And in doing that, does it mean that those in petroleum engineering, their profession ends because we want to transit? Of course not. So back to your question, you are not asking, what are the preparations are we making in order for us to have equipped our students to transit to the new source of energy the world is clamoring for? But I want to make bold to say that the fossil fuel will still be with us and going to contribute significantly in many decades to come. Just the word says transition. Transition means it's more or less futuristic, and a lot of things have to be put in place on ground for us to have a seamless transition. And that's we might not be seen so far now, especially in this part of the world. I know a lot of research has been going in the Western world to see how well to harness all this alternative energy other than fossil fuel. But for us in academics, we're also mindful of that and have begun to introduce other curriculum in our programs. And that is why in most cases, the program is being suggested, although most universities have done that, and many universities are going through series of Senate approval, where you now have energy and petroleum engineering. Or you see, most of those nomenclatures have come in place in order to accommodate this clarion call for other alternative energy source, so that those kinds can be fused into the curriculum, so that the engineers, especially petroleum engineers, will easily transit with all the skills they have acquired in their training at petroleum engineering, so that it can also be applicable in other forms of alternative or energy that will most likely come to bear in the nearest future. You begin to see areas like thermal energy. You're going to see that with the skill that is being trained as petroleum engineers, it can also be transferable to thermal, perhaps storage energy, including hydrogen storage, and of course, carbon capture and storage. All those things are coming into bear. So my point is, curriculum are being adjusted to accommodate all this new field of energy that is being proposed and which research has been going on tremendously. It's not as fast as it should. So telling you that basic things have been done so now, but it's on the table. So many universities started changing the course. Instead of hearing petroleum engineering now, you begin to hear petroleum and energy engineering. All those is because of the call to introduce all this alternate energy in the future. So the most curriculum, the universities, those that have been in curriculums are very mindful of all this clarion call, and they are making adjustments in our curriculum. And as we speak, a lot of universities are doing curriculum review to accommodate all these various energy fields. And it's not as if petroleum engineering is not adequate, but just to add to it, because petroleum engineers are trained, because when you talk about thermal, you are going to have a drilling section of it for you to get to the source where you need to have your thermal thermal inclusion. And if you also talk about underground storage of carbon, petroleum engineers, because most of where you store those things are reservoirs, and those are reservoirs, so petroleum engineers are into all that too. In as much as carbon capture is involved, you also notice that carbon itself is a gas, and petroleum engineers are experts in gas. So they are fitted in that field, but they still need some other training to make them fit in fully into that field when it's eventually comes in full stream. So the universities are mindful of it and are making concerted efforts to develop their curriculum to also fit in that direction. I hope I'm communicating. Thank you.
Very well.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof. And I personally look forward to these changes in the curriculum. I don't know if Madam Imabong can comment now. Please, if you can, please just respond.
Yes, I can speak now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, just as Prof said, in your view, what's the future of petroleum engineers? Already existing petroleum engineers, people who are not going to graduate with the petroleum and energy, engineering. So, what's the future for them in terms of core oil and gas projects?
So, like Prof already mentioned, oil and gas is, especially in Africa, is not going to be moving away anytime soon. He had made mention of that, and I see that even the core technical and petroleum geoscience skills that we have right now will be relevant for the next coming decades. So it is going to be a gradual move. So we'll transit into low carbon energy mix. And so as the world is increasing the focus to that area of where we are reducing greenhouse gases and emission and combating things like climate change. So we'll be taking up petroleum engineering skills and geoscience skills, just like he mentioned, to build, especially now, even in the industry as we are transiting, we are upscaling. We are not going to take up, those that have the time are going to get maybe a master's in something new. But even the trainings that we are having, we are upskilling, reskilling, unlearning and relearning. So there is always avenue to learn. So in things like diversification of skill sets, the graduates that whatever subject matter that you graduate as, be it a petroleum engineer, be it coming into the industry to be a professional as a drilling and completions engineer, you'll still be relevant. The carbon capture or utilization storage, it will be built. The relevant skills that we have today can still expand to fit in that scope. It is the same calculation that the geologist is going to do for getting the in place volumes. You get your carbon capture volumes too. So your reservoir, you still have to estimate it. So those real skills, we don't need to walk away from what we have right now. It seems like where we are kind of slow, and the world is fast-paced and moving against the tide and walking away from us. But I can tell you, coal took a long time to transit into the fossil fuel that we have today. And in some cases, even if we go back to cases where we have a real resource mining, we have those skills, even the relevant skills of the petroleum engineer can be cascaded into that. So adaptation to new challenges is just a mindset thing. The oil and gas industry continues to face technological and operational challenges. So we will definitely have to meet those challenges, and the expertise in that area of unconventional resources. So even in areas like environmental and regulation compliance, we will also meet that. The environmental regulations that we have today, they may be stringent, and petroleum engineers are increasingly involved in projects focusing on those kinds of things like minimizing environmental footprints, reducing flares and emissions. So there is always room for growth within the technical industry, within the oil and gas, and even going into the energy that we are focusing on now. All we need to do, even researches that are ongoing, those are skills that we have to meet up with. Anybody can be a researcher. You can move into those spaces and research and get the growth that you need. You get the results that you need. We were talking about a statement of purposes. So today, as we've said it, we can even move from being a petroleum engineer to focusing on researching on renewable energy. Global energy demand will not just flip into electricals. We will not just flip. So in Africa, we're still focused on fossil fuel, moving into cleaner, renewable energy, which is what the first speaker, Dr. Okereke, had mentioned. So if you have a mindset of career flexibility, you are on the winning side. You have your software skills, build your core skills as a petroleum engineer or any subject matter that you're graduating with in the university today, and also machine learning, all these small machine learning skills. SPE Section 103 is great at giving us those ideas and short tips. We can expatiate on that and get some accreditation for ourselves. There's nothing we do more in SPE than interpersonal relationship. We build on it. Business acumen, regional understanding of our, as geologists, regional understanding of the geology of where the Niger Delta or any other region that we are, adaptability, enthusiasm, and that is all we need. So I hope I've touched on the point that you've asked, and over to you, moderator. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Madam. I think our next question would be to Professor Mokhtar. So as you know, one of the solutions to help cushion and support the emerging energy, demand and market is blue hydrogen. So, Prof, how is Nigeria doing as regards to blue hydrogen? How are preparations? Are we really prepared for this? And also, what's been done to bring our students up to speed on these emerging technologies?
Yeah, thank you very much for the interesting presentations I've listened to thus far, in particular concerning the energy transition. So before I start explaining where we are regarding the hydrogen production in Nigeria, so I would like to give us one or two information to keep us on track. The Nigerian Energy Transition Plan was initially created with a 2050 net zero target. However, given the significant financial, social, and technological requirements, the nation concluded that a more realistic pathway to deep decarbonization will land on 2060. So I would like us to have that kind of background. Now, as we speak, we are looking at electricity, which has become a cankerworm, most especially for those in the rural areas. In the cities, yes, there are alternatives. For example, the solar. But we all know that one of the alternatives today is hydrogen. Now, is hydrogen actually a source of this electricity? No, the answer is no. Hydrogen is nothing but a carrier, what we call a carrier gas. So before I go into details, let me also give us some highlights about this hydrogen production. What is it all about? Now, hydrogen production is primarily produced from either coal natural gas, which basically here is a fossil fuel, in order to produce hydrogen. Now, the source will determine whether if it's going to be a black, gray, blue, or green hydrogen. Okay, let me start with the black hydrogen. If your source of the carrier, if your source of producing hydrogen is coal, the resulting hydrogen is called black hydrogen. But if your source is methane, that is fossil fuel, so invariably if you react methane with steam, what you produce is called gray hydrogen, because at the end of the day, at the end of the reaction, you are going to produce CO2 plus hydrogen. And we all know that CO2 is a what we call a greenhouse gas. You don't want to happen. So if your source, if the final hydrogen you produce that comes with CO2, it is said to be a gray hydrogen. Now, our concern with the gray hydrogen is the CO2. That if you can capture the CO2 and convert it into any maybe usable form or store it in order to reduce or to bring to the almost zero the emission of greenhouse gases, what you produce is called blue hydrogen. Now, if your source of producing hydrogen is renewable energy, then the hydrogen you produce is called green hydrogen. Now, as we speak, there is a bill that the National Assembly is trying to look at, and that is called the Hydrogen Bill. We've discussed this at several times about what we need to do. So as we speak, that bill has not been passed. But again, I would like to give this information. The former Vice President, Professor Osinbajo, was in US last year in order to get a loan from the World Bank regarding what we call this energy transition. And one of the targets that they want is how can we use hydrogen, which can either be either blue or green, in order to address climate change. So as we speak, data are still being gathered in order for us to be able to have a pilot. And then from the pilots now, we can now extrapolate to now have a field information. So as far as Nigeria is concerned, we are still, just like the first professor mentioned, that again, we are leaping, we are moving very, very slow. That is the reality about what I'm going to say. So in summary, Nigeria is still at the stage of gathering data and then seeing how we can get to the promised land. But before I continue, I want us to understand why Nigeria may be leapfrogging. You see, one of the key challenges of the blue hydrogen, but we need to understand this very well. Challenges and considerations for this so-called blue hydrogen is carbon capture and sequestration technology. It relies on effective implementation of CCS technology. CCS simply means carbon capture and storage technology. So ensuring the safe and efficient storage of captured CO2 is critical. Now, one other challenge is the aspect of methane leakage. Because while blue hydrogen is intended to emit or to reduce emissions, the process still involves the use of natural gas, and methane leakage during extraction and transportation can be a concern. Now, if you look at the energy density of oil, of crude oil, diesel, all this and all that, they fall under 44 to 45 megajoules per kilogram. But the energy density of hydrogen is approximately 120 megajoules per kilogram. So what information does it give us? It tells us that it's a very, very, it's an energy intensive process. So being energy intensive means it's going to be very, very expensive. So, and I'm sure that that is one of the reasons why the federal government is leapfrogging in terms as far as blue hydrogen is concerned. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Prof, for such detailed information. I think a lot of us who may not have known that there is black, green, blue hydrogen, we've all gotten that basic and fundamental explanation. Thank you so much, Prof. I think Simeon, please, can you make Dr. Ohia a co-host? I think he's on the call. Welcome, Dr. Ohia. Please, can you confirm you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome on the call. So please, before I go on with further questions, if you have any questions for our panelists, specifically a general question, you could ask it in the chat box. Thank you very much. Okay, so Dr. Ohia, I think my next question would go to you. So considering the emissions of greenhouse gases, what's your perspective on the efforts from various operators here in Nigeria? What's your perspective on their efforts towards reducing gas flaring to the barest minimum? Do you think this is something that that has improved or has just been the same over the years as relates to us moving into the energy transition?
Yeah, so this is my personal take on it. I think that we as an industry back home have been working towards reducing gas flaring, and I know, just like the former speakers have spoken, there's been an intentional approach, a plan towards reducing gas flaring. And all of this goes towards the transition that we basically in the industry are craving for. The decarbonization fever is becoming real in the industry globally. And I was opportune to be at ADIPEC, and NNPC had a massive stand. In fact, NNPC stand stood out in the event, and that's the first time I'm seeing NNPC make such representation. And I was drawn to it, and I engaged the people that were in attendance for the conference. And in fact, the theme of the conference was decarbonization. And to tell you the least, I was really impressed to see that NNPC being the key player in the industry for us as Nigerians, had keyed into that discussion, and they had rolled out some lofty plans on how they intend to reduce carbon emission, and to a large extent, even they have some plans towards carbon capture and sequestrating the carbon that is captured. And it's just like the former speakers have spoken, is capital intensive. So, and I want to believe that they have the appetite this time to see to fruition and bring everything to towards the global targets of 2030. Or I think I had a former speaker talk about it being 2050 Nigeria, but the Global Flaring Reduction Partnership, which is a multi-donor trust fund that comprises of several governments and oil companies and multilateral organizations, they had put out to 2030. Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the document that was released in 2015, where governments made commitments and oil companies made commitments to ending flaring by the year 2030. Yeah, you will see that this Nigeria being a nation on its own, it's, even though we are kind of slow to catch up, but at least the intention is there, the understanding is there, and now I'm beginning to see the drive, and it's my prayer personally that this drive is sustainable, or will be sustained, through, bringing in key players, technocrats, and even some multinational companies that are operating in Nigeria, to assist towards meeting these lofty goals. So yeah, to answer your question, I think we're on the right path. We're aware of what's going on globally, and we have made declarations that we and we have rolled out plans as well, that we're on the same queue with the rest of the world. So that's impressive. That's way to go. I mean, that's how to start the initiative, and then we pray that every other thing will fall into place as we make progress. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ohia. Madam Imabong, I think I want to ask my last question. That's your last question. I'll be asking your last question because of our time. So a lot of speakers, I think about 3 speakers have mentioned carbon capture, utilization, and then sequestration and storage as well. And we know that this plays a critical role in the management of greenhouse gases emissions. So what transferable petroleum skills are relevant for upcoming petroleum engineers to contribute towards development of successful CCUS projects in Nigeria?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, then. For skills, thank you very much, moderator. So in terms of CCUS skills that can be translated from petroleum engineering graduates and young professionals that should utilize the opportunity, they can acquire some transferable skills and knowledge in areas that are relevant. And it includes, like, for instance, in reservoir engineering space. So there'll be many CCUS projects involved in injecting carbon dioxide into the subsurface for storage. So that's a particular space where petroleum engineering can bring in their expertise. Okay, geologists can take care of reservoir characterization models and management, and they can also, even the dynamic aspect of those models can be managed by the reservoir engineers that I'm talking about here. They can well use this suite of information to understand the environment, the dynamics, and also the pressure regime and the behavior of the formation. Okay, if we look in terms of well engineers, there is nothing in the oil and gas that can be done, or in terms of the subsurface storage and things, without them. So they know the crux of the subsurface in terms of whether it is pulling it out or taking it back in. The knowledge of designing and drilling the well bores, integral well bores that are crucial for creating injection of wells in CCUS projects. They'll be the captain of that. They'll be handling that space. Okay. So for fluid flow and transport, okay, we are looking at it in terms of understanding the fluid dynamics.
Hello, Ma, if you can hear us, I think there's a lag on network. Yeah, hello, can anyone hear me clearly?
It is key to the prediction of the underground reservoirs, okay, and transport for modeling and of CO2 subsurface. Okay, hear you. Hello.
Yes, you can go ahead now. I think it's clearer now.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's all right, man.
You heard me, but I would like to reiterate that like disciplines I had mentioned were reservoir engineering, well engineering, geoscientists, and for areas of environmental impact assessment. Before you get into an environment to do anything, HSE team have to be considered. Okay, so they are going to be also spearheading these projects to ensure that even if we say that they are renewable energy and they are better sources of energy, we are still safe, the environment is safe, and health and safety of everyone is intact. So in terms of data analysis, we can't do anything without data. Analytical skills are going to be super crucial for monitoring and optimizing CCUS projects. Project engineers have to leverage on their expertise in this aspect of data analysis and also reservoir simulation and predictive modeling. Okay, borehole integrity, like I mentioned earlier, will be handled by the well engineers. Well engineers know the crux of the well bore, how to pull, to lift or to decommission the wells as they come. So in ensuring that we are storing our carbon successfully, there will be a key part of that. Okay, project management, I have mentioned that you cannot execute any project in the oil and gas without the skills of project management. It has to be economical. The economics of it is going to be handled by the economics team. So in terms of some even petroleum engineers upskill into the aspect of commercial. You can do some short trainings and short courses, and even proper moving from petroleum engineering into supply chain aspects can help you and build your business acumen and how to get this aspects and understand the commercialization of CCUS in the projects that we will be working on. We cannot take out interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills, bringing whether you know everybody, autonomy of knowledge is not with one. You need the skills to relate with other stakeholders, bring the JV together, bring all the members of the team together, subsurface, surface, and all aspects of the businesses, and bring them to drive your business through. So communication, team working skills would absolutely be relevant. I am, like I mentioned earlier in my discussion, I've always gone back to the fact that there are certain skills that cannot be lost. Your software skills, your specialist, which is your core skills, and machine learning. A lot of machine learning skills are available to latch onto. A learner mindset is one key thing that will always bring people to the table. If you're curious about knowing stuff, you will learn and relearn, unlearn, and upskill yourself to the point that you are relevant at the table. That is where I would like to pitch my point. And over to you, moderator. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Ma. So because of our time, I think I'll just give a minute to all our panelists to just contribute as regards to necessary skills and the preparations that we need to make as petroleum engineers or engineers in Nigeria as relates to the energy transition, especially for our students on the call. So I think I'll start with Professor Onkwe.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I think the last speaker visually highlights all the skills that are transferable from petroleum engineering, visually highlight all. But I want to add to that by also emphasizing that in the emerging energy transition, especially in the area of carbon capture, even if you advance into thermal energy, you find out that petroleum engineering is almost trained for those. It's their profession or petroleum engineering skill, as they are trained ab initio, are well suited. It's just few, just little conversion or transition skill that they need that will not get well fitted. Among all the engineering that I place now, petroleum engineering are well fitted, especially in the area of carbon capture. And also to add to the skill, you also know that for energy transmission, it's going to be multidisciplinary discipline. And you find out that petroleum engineering, by virtue of their training, are team players and we are well suited to coordinate and also to fit into those areas by that skill of being a multinational industry and the skill of relating with one another in diverse fields is going to play a key role in transiting into the new phase of energy we are hoping for. And so by petroleum engineers too, by virtue of their training, they always work under pressure. So pressure management, working under pressure will be a key. And of course, since it's an emerging field, you find out that there will be a lot of pressure to meet up and to actually deliver on those projects. And you find out that petroleum engineering are well suited in those areas. So those skills that have been trained over time is going to be well suited in energy transition. And of course, the last speaker also mentioned cost. And that's a key learning in petroleum engineering, which we call petroleum economics. And that is economics of projects. And for people to invest into most of all these emerging energy fields, you have to do a lot of analytical evaluation of the costs. And ab initio, petroleum engineering are well trained by virtue of a course they usually do, which they call petroleum economics. And of course, once it comes to petroleum economics, what it means is that it's a multi-billion naira investment. And of course, so you don't rush into decisions. So you need to have the right economics, the right decision tool to make such decisions for your investment. So in a nutshell, I think petroleum engineering training is almost there. It's just a little one or two additions just to make them more suited to now take over in that field. So I will leave it here for now, so that other panelists can contribute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Professor Mokhtar, I think you'd go next. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So yes, my colleagues have made significant contributions. So I'll just say one or two things. So we need to have this. Petroleum engineers are known to be vast at regulatory and compliance knowledge. They have that. Then project management and teamwork. A reasonable number of them have mentioned something about teamwork, which is very, very important. Now we have thermodynamics and heat transfer, because knowledge of thermodynamics and heat transfer principles is applicable in renewable energy because they involve high temperature reactions. Then we have the aspect of safety and environmental considerations. Then fluid properties and phase behavior. Some of my colleagues have mentioned them. Just to reiterate, then we have this well construction and drilling expertise. Then we have reservoir engineering skills. Thank you very much. I'll stop at this junction. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. I think I'll call on Dr. Ohia to also make an input.
Thank you very much, moderator. I appreciate the opportunity. So like my various colleagues have stated, I mean, the petroleum engineering skill is pivotal towards realizing this energy mix target. I will speak maybe from a well engineering point of view, being a well engineer myself, that I've been called in to plan curriculum for future energy programs, one of which is at FUTO. And I'm sitting there because of my experience in well engineering. So, and over the years in this industry, we have acquired a lot of skill, a lot of tech expertise. And we're not going to throw all of that away just because we want to go greener in our approach to energy and the energy mix. So you will see that, I mean, experience drilling high temperature pressure wells will come to bear when you are drilling geothermal wells. Yeah, the cementing recipe, the casing is the same thing, you know. And also you will find out that you know, when the tools that have been developed over the years by vendors, you know, by contractors, they are the same ones that will be deployed in this project. The same, nothing changes. You know, it's just that the target is changing, but the technology remains the same. In also for carbon capture and utilization and storage, you also see, you know, well engineering skills being deployed in those spaces. One that comes to mind very easily is, you know, in wells these days we install what we call pressure gauges, and those pressure gauges we install them, you know, in producer wells, injector wells, in fossil fuel projects. Now we haven't seen more utilization for you know, carbon storage, because you need to know where you are. If you say you are storing carbon, how do you know where this carbon is going to? So all the technology that we developed over the years with fiber optics, electrical gauges, and all of that, we are all going to deploy it, you know, for carbon capture, utilization, and storage projects. So in a nutshell, I'm just saying what everybody is saying, that they will have to come to us, you know, if they have to come to us to make inputs, valuable inputs in this project overall. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ohia. And I think to bring this to a close, Dr. Ndubisi Okereke, you'd be answering a question from Franklin Obika. Why is the energy transition slow and steady? Is it due to certain delays and hindrances, or will there be adverse effects if it were fast? I think just a simple answer because of our time. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Great session. In my opinion, I think the process is a bit slow for us. Transition process is a bit slow for us because one, we are still conscious of the fact energy security. We don't want to lose track of our mainstay, which is fossil fuel, which is also wise and good. So, but as we are doing that, we need to really be conscious of our environment. The issues of greenhouse gas emission is serious, and so that should call our attention to putting effort to optimizing the processes of trapping this gas, which is the carbon capture thing we talked about. And that comes with a lot of infrastructure needs. So we need to consciously address those infrastructure needs, plug the necessary infrastructure gap, and enable our system to be able to cope with what is required for us to transit with respect to managing our greenhouse gases. Then for other options, biofuels, hydrogen, and what have you, we must also make conscious effort to provide the necessary infrastructure in place, even if it is a phased approach to tens of years and what have you. But let's have a workable plan that we review from time to time, every 2 years, every 5 years. We review them and know where we are and know what else we can do to get us to the promised land. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, panelists. Thank you very much. I think a few items, or to put it in summary, is that our petroleum engineering skills are still necessary and will still be very effective even in the energy transition. And so, even though there's the room for improving, for learning and unlearning, but these skills are still necessary and should be held on to. Thank you very much for such detailed and apt points that you have shared this night. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Ituro, please, can you confirm you can share your screen as we quickly run through the announcements?
I don't know, even if it's 2 minutes, for the scholarship chair to mention 1 or 2 things about what she's doing with the scholarship committee. That's one of that aspect that was omitted.
So thank you so much, Dr. Ndubisi. So Daniel, please, can you just enable me, or Simeon, please, can I share my slide? It's going to be very brief. I'm quite straight to the point and apt on these discussions. I just wanted to span through a bit of what scholarship is about and how we are going about things in 2023, 2024 board year.
You can go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, excellent. So like I mentioned earlier, we're just running through what we have for the 2024 and how students, the reason why I chose this forum is because I knew that a lot of students would be here, and then I would get it right by informing them that we'll be having a lot more scholarships this year. So it's a brief introduction, our committee, the makeup of our committee, and how to get about the SPI scholarships and the the section scholarships too, and a quick conclusion. So this is how we related with in the section in the previous board year. Going up to 2023, we've been having because of the COVID, to no fault of anybody's, because of the COVID, there was a reduction in scholarships. But last year was a great one. We have a recurrent scholarship within the board, within the section. And Anonymous has a girl empowerment scholarship for 3 girls every year. So next year we'll be benefiting from it. And we've had complete female candidates for this year. And we intend to increase that in the coming years such that we can have a balance. We are talking about D, E, and I right now. So diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we are going to try to make the balance such that the females and the allies, which are the males, will come up. The male counterparts will meet up with the 5 females that we have in the section that have received scholarship in this body, in the past board year. So our scholarship are focused on petroleum engineering courses and the related courses too in the oil and gas industry. So you have to have a strong GPA to qualify. So please, all the section students, chairs, and co-chairs, please, we will need your efforts to narrow down to get our best candidates for this year. A panoramic view of our committee members, myself, Chidera, our able advisor, Sir Alexis, members of the committee, just a few of them, and the other members listed in the next in the coming presentations or share that the scholarship committee will be having. You'll see more faces. We are enthusiastic about ensuring that Section 103 will have the best brains being sponsored for one thing or the other. So please, to the students that are with us, get on board, ensure that you're doing you're putting in the right focus. You've heard that in the oil and gas right now, in the energy industry, we still have a lot of room for petroleum engineers and the affiliated courses in the oil and gas industry. Please focus, get the right GPA, and you qualify for this. So the next will be the scholarships that we have in SPI and also the section scholarships. So this shows basically the different scholarship, the amount, and the application window. It is imperative that you get the application window right. If you go and apply when the scholarship has ended, you have not benefited anything. So we have from the Gaius Archie Scholarship Program to the Nico Van Wagen Memorial Graduate Fellowship. This one I'm mentioning, the second one is the Nico Van Wagen Memorial Graduate Fellowship. It's actually for PhD holders. Please, I'm sure many people may know already, but this is just to point you in the right direction. We would be sharing a few slides just to give you pointers to where you can click. At a click of the button, you will get to the scholarship itself and then read up for yourself the benefits and how you can apply. We have Donald G. Russell, Henry DeWitt, Smith, and our own African scholarship from Egbert Imomo. So this is focused on Africans, and it's a single payment. Note that some of them are per year for over 4 years, while some are single payments, please note that for the last one, which is the section scholarship, so it's the prerogative of the section to decide how they get about their scholarship, and these are for books, for computers, and for software materials. So in the bid that we do not have that much money to give up to a computer and would rather give allocate the minimal funds that we have to a group of a few individuals, so it can cut across. So we would be using this just like it is mentioned here, and application window, we will update that so that it follows it. It is the prerogative of the section to also apply. By April 15th, we would have announced how the application process will be. The student chairpersons will actually follow up and help us narrow down the best of the best that will qualify for this. So we have here proposals for different companies to actually sponsor these scholarships for us. We have the objective, which will encourage our students to continue in STEM professions and things like that. The benefits for the companies, which will promote their corporate social responsibilities. And so the resultant benefit for all in encouraging molding great minds, increasing consumer loyalty to the business, and encouraging education amongst our youth. So the next slide in conclusion is that please, all of us should just go back, prepare. It's not going to be only for the university levels. It's going to cut across into the secondary education this year. So please, we need your cooperation when they ask you to send in your CVs, activities you've done, and possibly request for you to come take the test. Please do it promptly. These are evidences of people that have done this and were awarded scholarship. It is obvious that we are in for business, and it will be only for the best. Thank you very much, and that will be it from the scholarship committee. Over to you, moderator. Hello.
Thank you very much, Madam.
Yes. This is my email in case you want to reach out to us. Thank you very much.
So Dan, I think the floor is yours, and I think there's something they're saying about the announcement. Are you still with us, Dan?
Yes. Apologies. I think I got knocked off by the network.
Okay. So do you still have access to the announcement? Is Simeon still here? I think he's here, but you need to
please, you can take over the presentation.
I think you need to run through.
Yes. So Imabo, sorry, Itoro, yes. Please kindly share your screen. Thank you very much. Simeon can not share his screen at the moment. Thank you. Okay, so very quickly on the announcements, on Friday, we'll be having our monthly technical meeting, and our theme is the possibility of a high recovery from naturally depleted reservoirs. And our speaker is a reservoir engineer from Shell, Mr. Ibn Nicholas Makwe. It's going to be a virtual meeting. The link is displayed in the first photo. So do well to register and prepare for the meeting. It's just 5 days from now. Also, the next day on Saturday, the young professionals of Section 103 will be having a fitness day at the Charlie's Fitness Center. And so there's a lot of activities that will be carried out: aerobics, handball, basketball, table tennis, swimming, badminton, and squash. And all of this is just at a fee of 3,000 naira. It's a good time to take a break from work, from research, and then exercise yourself and keep fit. And you would not really get this at 3,000 on any day at Charlie's Fitness Bar, but that's one of the perks of being an SP member. And so grab this opportunity while you can. The date is on Saturday, the 28th of October, 2023. Okay, you can move on to the next slide, IT. Okay, so those of us on the call, if you could just put on your cameras, turn on your videos, so we just take a quick snapshot of participants. I can see some
Prof,
cameras
Prof, it's good to
coming up.
see you, Prof. Madam Ivy, good to see you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
No worries, it's great.
So
right,
just
so Simeon, have you started taking?
I think Itoro will be helping us take snapshots.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So Itoro, just help us take snaps. Thank you very much. Just let me know once you are done. Yeah. Itoro, please can you confirm you've taken snapshots?
One more minute, please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all done. Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we're done with the Snapchat.
Okay, thank you very much. You can proceed with sharing your screen again, so you just run through the remaining part of the program. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining and for turning on your cameras. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll be taking our closing remarks. Our Deputy Section Chair just stepped out of the meeting. He needs to join another SP meeting, which just started. So he was supposed to stand in to take the closing remarks. I think
SD Bada can help us. I can see him strongly with us.
Okay. SD Bada, please confirm if you can take the closing remarks. Okay, Dr. Okereke, I think you would have to take the closing remarks.
Is there no other senior member here? Let me scan through 1 minute. Otherwise, I'll do the honors. I don't know if Bright. We got Bright. I don't know if he can do it for us. Bright Abodike. But if there's any delay, I'll just take it. All right, so let me proceed. So on behalf of the SC, PC as well, they gave this program more than 100% support. They've been very encouraging. But SC is away at ATCE and alongside a number of officers. So it's difficult having her fully with us in the program, but thankfully the PC Sabi has been here till the very tail end. That's to show how important this program is to all of them, to the board. So I just want to thank all of us that have stayed all through to this point. You know, it's over 2 hours. And to be honest, in the SP programs, it's more or less 2 hours, they're about 2.5 max, but we stretched almost 3 hours, and I apologize for that stretch, but I believe it was rewarding, and I believe that a lot of our students have gained something beyond what they may have been learning in the class, which will be useful to them. So I would also like to remind those that have sent in their CVs that we will get back to you. Dr. Gazi is already looking at some, but in order not for us to do a rush job and you don't have any concrete feedback, I will plead that you allow us between at least Monday, Tuesday. We'll get back to you on that. So thank you very much. It's been a long night already, so I would just like to say have a great night, have a great night rest, and a great Sunday ahead. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you for joining today's session. Look forward to seeing you at our next event on Friday. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you to all our panel sessions speakers who have joined us from the start of the call up to this time. Thank you to Dr. Isaac Ogazi as well, and also Dr. Ndubisi Okereke for taking the CV and SOP sessions respectively. Thank you very much. Simeon, I think can stop the recording and the call where this is possible.